Muchachitos, buenas tardes, noches, días, no sé cuándo vais a ver el vídeo. Bienvenidos de nuevo al bot de Piper. Voy a jugar Stanley Parable. Como bien sabéis, estoy subiendo vídeo cada domingo en el canal principal, Piper barra baja. Y como estamos a 21 de julio y como en 2 semanas y medias me voy de vacaciones, estoy dejando todos los vídeos preparados. Me ahorro chapa. Va a haber vídeo cada domingo, así que estar pendientes. Ahora vamos a jugar al Stanley Parable. Juego que deja en Paranoia. En principio la idea es pasarme una vuelta haciendo caso a las voces, otra haciendo todo lo contrario y una tercera haciéndolo mixto, 50-50. Dicho esto, agradeceros también el apoyo que ha recibido Mario. Este canal, el de Voz de Piper, lo tengo para subir todo lo que me paso en directo, resubir voz, resubir todas las cosas sin editar. Y bueno, para ser un canal que no quiero decir que no me curro tanto porque mis palizas me meto, pues oye, está teniendo visitas, likes, suscriptores, así que gracias, bienvenidos a todos y disfrutar de esta aventura. Vamos a ver, vamos a jugar al Stanley Parable, imparable. Stanley imparable. Juego de hace 12 añazos, ¿eh? ¿Cómo pasa el tiempo? A ver si me deja meter la captura aquí. Juegos. Tengo que añadir una más. Audios, juegos, añadir. mm, Vale, creo que esto ya estaría. Vale, vamos allá. Lo vamos a poner evidentemente en español. En español. ¿Jugaste? No. La idea es esa, ¿vale? Ajusta la barra hasta que la computadora sea apenas visible. Venga, sí. La idea es esa, hacer 3 vueltas. No. Se me complica el juego simplemente poniendo la hora. Volvemos a empezar. No. Confirmar. Hora actual. 2, 3 pm. Vale. Voy a jugarlo con teclado y ratón, me parece.
This is the story of a man named
A
Stanley.
ver qué nos cuentan.
Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427.
Employee. Primera vuelta.
Employee number
Haciendo todo lo que nos diga la
427's
voz.
job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on a keyboard. Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them, and in what order. This is what employee 427 did every day, every month, of every year. And although others
La rutina,
might have
¿no?
considered it soul-rending, Stanley relished every moment that the orders came in, as though he had been made exactly for this job.
Vale.
And Stanley was happy.
Bueno, a Stanley le gustaba la rutina. No tiene por qué ser malo.
And then one day, something very peculiar happened. Something that would forever change Stanley. Something he would never quite forget. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one, single order had arrived on the monitor for him to follow.
¿O no?
No one had showed up to give him instructions, call a meeting, or even say hi. Never in all his years at the company had this happened, this complete isolation. Something was very clearly wrong. Shocked, frozen solid, Stanley found himself unable to move for the longest time. But as he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk and stepped out of his office.
Oye. Hace tanto que no utilizo el micro para jugar que no sé ni lo que estoy haciendo. Venga. Hostia, qué sensible. Espera. Vale.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Vale. ¿Dónde está el meeting room? La primera vuelta es hacer todo lo que me digan, ¿eh? El problema es que no sé dónde está el meeting room.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Venga, vamos a hacer lo que nos diga, ¿eh? ¿Y bien? Ah, vale.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there.
Vale, a la oficina del jefe, a ver si había alguna respuesta. Vamos a ver. Meeting room. Bueno. Tenemos bastantes días con huecos, ¿verdad? No alterar el horario sin consultar, digamos, al jefecillo de la pizarra blanca. Ahora voy, ¿eh? Vale. Broom closet, no sé lo que es. Oficina.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Acordaros que ahora vamos a hacer todo lo que me diga, ¿eh? La voz, todo.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Shocked, unraveled, Stanley wondered in disbelief who orchestrated this, what dark secret was being held from him. What he could not have known was that the keypad behind the boss's desk guarded the terrible truth that his boss had been keeping from him, and so the boss had assigned it an extra secret PIN number, 2845. But of course, Stanley couldn't possibly have known this. Yet incredibly, by simply pushing random buttons on the keypad, Stanley happened to input the correct code by sheer luck.
Pura casualidad, parece la oficina del
He
señor
stepped
Barnes.
into the newly opened passageway.
No quiero explorar mucho en esta vuelta porque literalmente es lo que os he dicho. Quiero hacer lo que me digan. Quiero hacer el experimento. Haciendo literalmente lo que me digan.
Descending deeper into the building, Stanley realized he felt a bit peculiar. It was a stirring of emotion in his chest, as though he felt more free to think for himself, to question the nature of his job. Why did he feel this now, when for years it had never occurred to him? This question would not go unanswered for long.
Espero que no haya sustos, ¿eh? Porque esto no es la semana de Halloween.
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
Uf, cuando juguemos haciendo todo lo contrario, ya sabéis lo que voy a elegir.
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley thought to himself. Did he have the strength to find out?
Es como la película de Jim Carrey, que ahora no me sale el nombre. Que todo está organizado. ¿Sabéis cuál digo, no? Muy famosa.
Now the monitors jumped to life, their true nature revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building, Stanley's co-worker.
Dios.
The lives of so many individuals reduced to images on a screen.
¿Cuál es la mía?
Stanley,
No me ha dado tiempo.
one of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom meant nothing.
Me ha despedido. Poco triste, pero así es la vida, ¿verdad? La vida de algunas personas, ¿eh? Pero bueno, tampoco tiene por qué ser mala la rutina, ¿no? Hay gente que la rutina le hace feliz.
This mind control facility, it was too horrible.
No es mi
to
caso, ¿eh?
believe it
O sea, yo
couldn't
soy
be
un
true.
poco...
Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly? No. He refused to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control? Never.
Jamás.
It was unthinkable, wasn't it? Was it even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world? But here was the proof, the heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions, happy or sad or content, walking, eating, working, all of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life, for he would dismantle the controls once and for all.
Vale, para desmantelar me imagino que será aquí dentro. Y desenchufarlo, ¿no? Entiendo. ¿Qué ha pasado? ¿Hemos salvado a todos nuestros colegones?
Blackness and a rising chill of uncertainty. Was it over? Yes. He had won. He had defeated the machine, unshackled himself from someone else's command. Freedom was mere moments away. And yet, even as the immense door slowly opened, Stanley reflected on how many puzzles still lay unsolved. Where had his co-workers gone? How had he been freed from the machine's grasp? What other mysteries did this strange building hold? But as sunlight streamed into the chamber, he realized none of this mattered to him, for it was not knowledge or even power that he had been seeking, but happiness. Perhaps his goal had not been to understand, but to let go. No longer would anyone tell him where to go, what to do, or how to feel. Whatever life he lives, it will be his. And that was all he needed to know. It was perhaps...
Este run es como eso, pues que te la pela, no quieres buscar
Stanley
soluciones
stepped through the open door.
sino ser libre. Te la pela todo lo que haya pasado. Tú tan solo...
Stanley felt the cool breeze
Chao, chao,
upon
ahí
his
os quedáis.
skin,
Fuck you.
the feeling of liberation, the immense possibility of the new path before him.
Qué paisaje más
This was
bonito.
exactly the way
Me voy de vacaciones a
right
Alemania
now
y hay muchos paisajes
that
así,
things were meant to happen.
súper bonitos.
And Stanley was happy.
Pues este es un run en el que si haces pues todo como te dicen, no pasa nada. ¿Sabes? Simplemente pues eres libre y punto. Ahora vamos a hacer lo contrario. Cada vez que me diga una cosa, haré lo contrario. ¿Sabes? Le llevamos la contraria al juego. A ver qué pasa en este run. Lo que no sé si tengo que darle... a empezar de cero o como que empieza desde aquí?
All of his co-workers
Vale.
were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Ahora, en las decisiones cruciales, voy a coger lo contrario a lo que él me diga. A ver qué pasa.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Vale, miré a la de la derecha.
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. Ah, yes, truly a room worth admiring. It had really been worth the detour after all, just to spend a few moments here in this immaculate, beautifully constructed room. Stanley simply stood here, drinking it all in.
Bueno, realmente no es para tanto, ¿no? Me piro.
But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
Pasamos.
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago.
Somos la oveja negra. No hay control para saltar, ¿no? Ni nada. Vale, una vez te subas aquí no te muevas.
Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone you've forgotten about. Please, stop trying to make every decision by yourself.
Calles, vamos a seguir igual.
I'm not asking for me, I'm asking for her. This is it, Stanley. Your chance to redeem yourself, to put your work aside, to let her back into your life. She's been waiting. That's her, Stanley. You need to be the one to...
A ver. ¿Quién me está llamando?
Oh, Stanley, is that you? Hold on, sweetie. Sorry to keep you waiting. I'm just pulling the bread out of the oven. All right. Okay, there we go. All right, now, I want you to come in and tell me all about your day.
Gotcha. Oh, come on.
Uy, se me ha puesto la
Did
piel de
you actually
gallina,
think you had a
cabrón.
loving wife who'd want to commit their life to you? I'm trying to make a point here, Stanley. I'm trying to get you to see something. Come inside. Let me show you what's really going on here. Sorry, but you're in my story now.
Uy, se me pone la piel de gallina, cabronazo.
This is a very sad story about the death of a man named Stanley.
Si no quiero hacer lo que me dice, ahora ya no hay manera, ¿no?
Stanley is quite a boring fellow. He has a job that demands nothing of him, and every button that he pushes is a reminder of the inconsequential nature of his existence.
Como que ahora me están obligando a ver que no soy libre, ¿no? O sea, no hay manera sino de salir de aquí. Mira, si hago clic o toco otro botón,
Look at him there, pushing buttons, doing exactly what he's told
Reputa.
to do. Now he's pushing a button. Now he's eating lunch.
no.
Now he's going home. Now he's
Nada
coming
unión,
back
ahora
to
estoy
work.
jugando un videojuego porque me
One
da la
might
gana.
even feel
Y tú estás
sorry
aquí
for him,
hablando porque lo digo
except
yo.
that he's chosen this life.
Tengo que hacer lo que me dice, es que
But
si
in
no,
his
no
mind,
avanza.
in his mind, he can go on fantastic adventures. From behind his desk, Stanley dreamed of wild expeditions into the unknown, fantastic discoveries of new lands. It was wonderful. And each day that he returned to work was a reminder that none of it would ever happen to him. And so he began to fantasize about his own job. First, he imagined that one day while at work, he stepped up from his desk to realize that all of his co-workers, his boss, everyone in the building had suddenly vanished off the face of the earth. The thought excited him terribly. So he went further. He imagined that he came to 2 open doors and that he could go through
Tu
either.
paranoia, ¿eh?
At
Se podría
last,
llamar la paranoia de Stanley.
it barely even mattered what lay behind each door. The mere thought that his decisions would mean something was almost too wonderful to behold.
Oprime V para empezar la cena.
As he wandered through this fantasy world, he began to fill it with many possible paths and destinations. Down one path lay an enormous round room with monitors and mind
La que hemos visto
controls.
antes, si sigues el
Down
camino.
another was a yellow line that weaved in many directions, and down another was a game with a baby. And he called it the Stanley Parable. It was such a wonderful fantasy, and so in his head he relived it again, and then again, and again, over and over, wishing beyond hope that it would never end, that he might always feel this free. Surely there's an answer down some new path, mustn't there be? Perhaps if he played just one more time.
A ver.
But there is no answer. How could there possibly be? In reality, all he's doing is pushing the same buttons he always has.
Hijo puta.
Nothing has changed. The longer he spends here, the more invested he gets, the more he forgets which life is the real one.
H para irte a dormir.
And I'm trying to tell him this, that in this world he can never be anything but an observer, that as long as he remains here, he's slowly killing himself. But he won't listen to me. He won't stop. Here, watch this. Stanley, the next time the screen asks you to push a button, do not do it. You see? Can he just not hear me? How can I tell him in a way that he'll understand that every second he
Voy a
remains
hacer todo lo
here,
contrario.
he's electing to kill himself? How can I get him to see what I see? How can I make him look at himself?
Si no toco el botón.
I suppose I can't, not in the way I want him to. But I don't make the rules. I simply play to my intended purpose, the same as Stanley. We're not so different, I suppose. I'll try once more to convey all this to him. I'm compelled to. I must. Perhaps, well, maybe this time he'll see. Maybe this time. And I tried again, and Stanley pushed a button. And I tried again, and Stanley pushed a button. And I tried.
No he tocado nada, ¿eh? Lolazo. Vale. Ahora voy a hacer un mixto. Lo que pasa que no sé cómo hacerlo. Vamos a seguir el camino y lo vamos a mezclar. Una correcta, una incorrecta. Vamos a elegir la puerta de la izquierda y luego haré lo contrario a lo que me diga. Una y una, una y una. Una y una todo el rato vamos a hacer. Hay 1000 maneras de jugar el juego. O sea, te pueden salir 157.500 finales. Pero, para no alargarme, luego cada uno, si os mola este juego, creo que vale 20 euros. Si os lo podéis permitir, jugarlo sin no ver vídeos, porque hay 1000 maneras de jugar esto.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Igual hago una cuarta run de hacer lo que nos dé absolutamente la gana. De
When
cotillear,
Stanley came to
explorar.
a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left. Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there.
Vale,
Coming to a staircase,
Vamos a
Stanley
bajar.
walked upstairs to his boss's office. But Stanley just couldn't do it. He considered the possibility of facing his boss, admitting he had left his post during work hours. He might be fired for that. And in such a competitive economy, why had he taken that risk? All because he believed everyone had vanished? His boss would think he was crazy. And then something occurred to Stanley. Maybe He thought to himself, maybe I am crazy. All of my co-workers blinking mysteriously out of existence
¿Cómo me quieres
in a
sembrar la
single
duda, este hijo
moment
puta?
for no reason at all. None of it made any logical sense. And as Stanley pondered this, he began to make other strange observations.
He vuelto al mismo lado.
For example, why couldn't he see his feet when he looked down? Why did doors close automatically behind him wherever he went? And for that matter, these rooms were starting to look pretty familiar. Were they simply repeating? No, Stanley said to himself, this is all too strange. This can't be real. And at last, he came to the conclusion that had been on the tip of his tongue. He just hadn't found the words for it. I'm dreaming, he yelled. This is all a dream. Oh, what a relief Stanley felt to have finally found an answer, an explanation. His co-workers weren't actually gone. He wasn't going to lose his job. He wasn't crazy after all. And he thought to himself, I suppose I'll wake up soon. I'll have to go back to my boring real-life job pushing buttons. I may as well enjoy this while I'm still lucid. So he imagined himself flying and began to gently float above the ground. Then he imagined himself soaring through space on a magical starfield, and it too appeared. It was so much fun, and
Me pone
Stanley
la piel de
marveled
gallina,
that he had still not woken up. How was he remaining so lucid? The question of them all entered Stanley's head. One he was amazed he hadn't asked himself sooner. Why is there a voice in my head dictating everything that I'm doing and thinking? Now the voice was describing itself being considered by Stanley, who found it particularly strange.
Sal de mi
I'm
cabeza.
dreaming about a voice describing me, thinking about how it's describing my thoughts, he thought.
Esto en castellano
And while he
molaría que
thought
te
it all
cagas.
very odd and wondered if this
O sea, la
voice
voz inglesa está
spoke
muy bien,
all
pero
people
molaría más oírlo.
The truth was that, of
Te
course,
emparanoiaría más.
this was not a dream. How could it be? Was Stanley simply deceiving himself, believing that if he's asleep, he doesn't have to take responsibility for himself? Stanley is as awake right now as he's ever been in his life. Now, hearing the voice speak these words was quite a shock to Stanley. After all, he knew for certain, beyond a doubt, that this was in fact a dream. Did the voice not see him float and make the magical stars just a moment ago? How else would the voice explain all that?
Si me
This
quedo quieto.
voice was a part of himself too. Surely, if he could just... He would prove it. He would prove that he was in control, that this was a dream. So he closed his eyes gently, and he invited himself to wake up. He felt the cool weight of the blanket on his skin, the press of the mattress on his back, the fresh air of a world outside this one. Let me wake up, he thought to himself. I'm through with this dream. I wish it to be over. Let me go back to my job. Let me continue pushing the buttons. Please, it's all I want. I want my apartment, and my wife, and my job.
Voy a estar
All
muy
I
callado
want
porque
is my life exactly the way
es muy
it's always been.
follacabezas este juego.
My life is normal. I am normal. Everything will be fine. I am okay. Stanley began screaming. Please, someone, wake me up. My name is Stanley. I have a boss. I have an office. I am real. Please, just someone.
Tengo la piel de
tell me
gallina,
I'm real. I must be real. I must be. Can anyone hear my voice? Who am I? Who am I? And everything went black.
Tengo... No sé si lo vais a ver.
This is the
La
story
piel
of
de
a
gallina.
woman named Mariella. Mariella woke up on a day like any other. She arose, got dressed, gathered her belongings, and walked to her place.
¿Se ha suicidado?
But on this particular day, her walk was interrupted by the body of a man
La
who
mujer
had
está
stumbled
como,
through town talking and
¿qué hago? ¿Voy a
screaming to
trabajar o me
himself,
quedo aquí
then
mirando el
collapsed
cadáver?
dead on the sidewalk. And although she would soon turn to go call for an ambulance, for just a few brief moments she considered the strange man. He was obviously crazy. This much she knew. Everyone knows what crazy people look like. And in that moment, she thought to herself how lucky she was to be normal. I am sane. I am in control of my mind. I know what is real and what isn't. It was comforting to think this, and in a certain way, seeing this man made her feel better. But
Wow,
then she
pues qué
remembered the
vacía
meeting
tienes
she
que
had
estar para
scheduled
ver
for that day.
un
The
cadáver y...
very important people
Wow.
whose impressions of her would affect her career.
No, en vez de pensar
by
en llamar a
extension,
una
the
ambulancia,
rest of her life. She had no time for this, so it was only a moment that she stood
ahora
there,
no puedo hacer nada.
staring
Vale, vale.
down at the body. And then she turned and ran.
Vale, ahora quiero hacer una cosa. Vamos a llegar hasta el botón y en vez de off vamos a darle on. Y luego haremos una quinta run en la que en vez de ir al pasillo de los monitores me voy a ir a la que pone escapar. Y vamos a ver qué pasa.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left. Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might
Susto me he
find
dado,
an
coño.
answer there.
Uf, interesante, ¿verdad?
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Es que hay 100.000 maneras de pasarse esto. Claro, es que aquí entramos en que hay 100.000 opciones en este juego, ¿eh? Luego me ciño a
Stepping
la de
into his
explorar, ¿eh?
manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. What could it mean? Stanley wondered aloud to nobody. He began wildly tearing through papers on the boss's desk, pulling books off the shelf, looking behind paintings, desperate for clues to his situation. But his attention was caught by a keypad behind the boss's desk.
¿Cómo era la
What could its
contraseña?
purpose be?
2549,
In
algo
fact,
así.
this keypad guarded the terrible secret that lay buried below his feet, and so the boss had assigned it an extra secret PIN number, 2845. But of course, Stanley couldn't. Yet incredibly, by simply pushing random buttons on the keypad, Stanley happened to input the correct code by sheer luck. Amazing. He stepped into the newly opened passageway.
Qué interesante, ¿verdad? O sea, qué paranoias. Yo creo que el cerebro te va a 2000 por hora con este juego. Ahora haremos 6 runs o 7, porque vamos a ir luego una mixta de hacer lo que nos dé la gana. Abrir
Stanley walked
puertas.
straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
¿Hago la de escapar?
Although this passageway had the word escape written on it, the truth was that at the end of this hall, Stanley would meet his violent death.
Moriré.
The door behind him was not shut. Stanley still had every opportunity to turn around and get back on track. At this point, Stanley was making a conscious, concerted effort to walk forward and willingly confront his death.
¿Muero de verdad?
As the machine whirred into motion and Stanley was inched closer and closer to his demise, he reflected that his life had been of no consequence whatsoever. Stanley can't see the bigger picture. He doesn't know the real story, trapped forever in his narrow vision of what this world is. Perhaps his death was of no great loss, like plucking the eyeballs from a blind man.
O sea, qué
So
bizarro
he
ese
resigned
juego.
and willingly accepted this violent end to his brief and shallow life. Farewell, Stanley.
Farewell.
"Farewell, Stanley," cried the narrator, as Stanley was led helplessly into the enormous metal jaws. In a single visceral instant, Stanley was obliterated as the machine crushed every bone in his body, killing him instantly. And yet it would be just a few minutes before Stanley would restart the game, back in his office, as alive as ever. What exactly did the narrator think he was going to accomplish? When every path you can walk has been created for you long in advance, death becomes meaningless, making life the same. Do you see now? Do you see that Stanley was already dead from the moment he hit start?
Wow, wow, qué reflexión te dejan. Te dejan esa reflexión de que realmente hagas caso o no, como que todo ya estaba prediseñado y programado. Elijas lo que elijas. Si te crees que por elegir escapar estás cambiando el destino, alguien ya había programado ese camino para que lo eligieras. Es wow, muy interesante, muy interesante. Mira, computadoras de la oficina. Este descargando porno, este jugando al solitario y uno trabajando. Mira aquí el esto. Oficina del jefe. Esto que es como un museo del juego, ¿qué?
Stanley pushed
Ah,
the orange lever.
vale, vale. Son tomas como que no se pusieron en el juego. Grabó las voces durante 2 años, ha dicho el narrador. Mira la salida. Está interesante esto. Esta especie de museo, la verdad. Ah, vale, son diferentes oficinas. Una se hizo uno en 2011, otra en 12 y otra en 13. Wow, es que hay muchísimas alternativas, ¿eh? Explorar todas te puede llevar un montonazo de horas. Oye, qué interesante, tío. Ah, vale.
Oh, look at these two. How they wish to destroy one another. How they wish to control one another. How they both wish to be free. Can you see? Can you see how much they need one another? No, perhaps not. Sometimes these things cannot be seen.
Ahí va.
Listen to me. You can still save these two. You can stop the program before they both fail. Push escape and press quit. There's no other way to beat this game. As long as you move forward, you'll be walking someone else's path. Stop now and it'll be your only true choice. Whatever you do, choose it. Don't let time choose for you. Don't let...
¿Qué querían? ¿Que saliera de la partida?
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Esta es otra sala.
Stanley went around touching every little thing in the office, but it didn't make a single difference, nor did it advance the story in any way.
¿Y eso para qué vale?
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Porque
Yet
ladro.
there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there. Stanley stepped into the broom closet, but there was nothing here, so he turned around and got back on track. There was nothing here. No choice to make, no path to follow, just an empty broom. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Me voy en el ascensor. Para arriba a ver qué hay. Stanley. ¿Hasta dónde estamos subiendo? Ah. ¿Sí bajo? Increíble.
The moment he entered his manager's office, Stanley froze in his tracks. Not a living soul anywhere.
¿Y si
Could he
falló el
really
código?
be all alone? This was too much for Stanley to take, too much for any man to take. He fell to his knees, bursting into half moans, half sobs, the guttural retching of life from a man denied any hope, any reason to keep going. Here on the floor he lay prone, paralyzed by fear for nearly a full hour. But when at last he began to move about and survey the situation, he found a keypad behind the boss's desk. What could it mean? Was it a sign of hope for Stanley's future? Alas, it was not.
El modo perro
For
ese no me
although this
gusta.
keypad guarded the terrible secret of Stanley's past, it had been assigned a 4-digit code so devious and so random that no man could ever hope to guess it. 2845. Statistically, Yet incredibly, by simply pushing random buttons on the keypad, Stanley happened to input the correct code by sheer luck.
Wow.
Amazing. He
Amazing.
stepped into the newly opened passageway.
Ahora voy a pulsar el botón de activar. Cuando llegamos al final, voy a darle al botón de activar.
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
A ver, vamos a encender la luz.
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley thought to himself. Did he have the strength to find out?
¿Cómo se llama la película de Jim Carrey? Que ahora no me sale. Es algo de Stanley también. La vida de Stanley, algo así.
Now the monitors jumped to life, their true nature revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building, Stanley's co-workers. The lives of so many individuals reduced to images on a screen.
No se ve ni un solo humano, ¿eh?
One of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom meant nothing.
Where freedom means nothing. La libertad
This
nos la
mind
suda.
control facility, it was too horrible to believe. It couldn't be true. Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly? No, he refused to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control? Never. It was unthinkable, wasn't it? Was it even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world? But here was the proof, the heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions, happy or sad or content, walking, eating, working, all of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he would dismantle the controls once and for all.
La voy a activar, ¿eh? O sea, antes lo hemos desactivado, o sea que ahora lo vamos a activar.
Oh, Stanley, you didn't just activate the controls, did you? After they kept you enslaved all these years, you go and you try to take control of the machine for yourself. Is that what you wanted? Control? Oh, Stanley, I applaud your effort, I really do. But you need to understand, there's only so much that machine can do. You were supposed to let it go, turn the controls off, and leave.
No me
If
da la
you
gana.
want to throw my story off track, you're going to have to do much better than that. I'm afraid you don't have nearly the power you think you do. For example, and I believe you'll find this pertinent, Stanley suddenly realized he had just initiated the network's emergency detonation system. In the event that this machine is activated without proper DNA identification, nuclear detonators are set to explode, eliminating the entire complex. How long until detonation then? Let's say 2 minutes. Ah, now this is making things a little more fun, isn't it, Stanley? It's your time to shine. You are the star. It's your story now. Shape it to your heart's desires. Oh, this is much better than what I had in mind. What a shame we have so little time left to enjoy it. Mere moments until the bomb goes off. But what precious moments each one of them is. More time to talk about you, about me, where we're going, what all this means. I barely know where to start. What's that? You'd like to know where your co-workers are? A moment of solace before you're obliterated? All right, I'm in a good mood. You're going to die anyway. I'll tell you exactly what happened to them. I erased them. I turned off the machine. I set you free. Of course, that was merely in this instance of the story. Sometimes when I tell it, I simply let you sit there in your office forever, pushing buttons endlessly and then dying alone. Other times, I let the office sink into the ground, swallowing everyone inside, or I let it burn to a crisp. I have to say this, though, this version of events has been rather amusing. Watching you try to make sense of everything and take back the control wrested away from you, it's rich. I almost hate to see it go. But I'm sure whatever I come up with on the next go-around will be even better. My goodness, only 34 seconds left. But I'm enjoying this so much. You know what? To hell with it. I'm going to put some extra time on the clock. Why not? These are precious additional seconds, Stanley. Time doesn't grow on trees. Oh, dear me. What's the matter, Stanley? Is it that you have no idea where you're going or what you're supposed to be doing right now? Or did you just assume when you saw that timer that something in this room was capable of turning it off? I mean, look at you. Running from button to button, screen to screen, clicking on every little thing in this room. These numbered buttons, no, these colored ones. Or maybe this big red button, or this door. Everything, anything, something here will save me. Why would you think that, Stanley? That this video game can be beaten? Won? Solved? Do you have any idea what your purpose in this place is? Stanley, you're in for quite a disappointment. But here's a spoiler for you. That timer isn't a catalyst to keep the action moving along. It's just seconds ticking away to your death. You're only still playing instead of watching a cutscene because I would have watched you for every moment that you're powerless. To see you made humble. This is not a challenge. It's a tragedy. You wanted to control this world, that's fine. But I'm going to destroy it first, so you can't. Take a look at the clock, Stanley. That's 30 seconds you have left to strike. 30 seconds until a big boom and then nothing. No ending here. Just you being blown to pieces. Will you cling desperately to your frail life, or will you let it go peacefully? Another choice. Make it count. Or don't. It's all the same to me, all a part of the joke. And believe me, I will be laughing at every second of your inevitable life from the moment you fade in until the moment I say, happily ever up.
Impotencia, tío. Hijo de putilla. Ya no sé ni en qué run estoy, ¿eh? Me estoy volviendo loco. Me estoy volviendo loco. Ahora esta la voy a jugar.
Already this was uncomfortable, and Stanley decided that as soon as he found a new space he felt safe in, that he would never leave it again in his life.
Le apago un ordenador. Esta la voy a hacer a lo que me apetezca. Qué puro estrés, coño. ¿Cómo llego aquí?
Stanley clicked on literally every single door in the office, because he doesn't pick up well on cues from his environment.
Nuevo contenido.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
No, tío, no quiero.
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it.
Ah, quería haber ido a nuevo contenido, tío.
Wow. Yes, this room. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left. And so he detoured through the maintenance section, walked straight ahead to the opposite door, and got back on track.
Claro, es que te dejan tantas opciones, bro, que te lo puedes pasar de 150 maneras.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office. Hoping he'd coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
¿Y en el baño puedo hacer algo? Es que esto en paranoia, ¿eh? ¿Y si no ponemos el código?
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. What could it mean, he wondered. Desperate for answers, he began turning. Stanley was in such a rush to get through the story as quickly as possible, he didn't even have a single minute to just let the narrator talk. That kind of anxiety isn't healthy, so he relaxed for a few moments with some calming New Age music.
¿Me abres la chimenea, por favor?
Feeling soothed and rejuvenated, Stanley calmly walked forward into the opened passageway.
¿Y si ahora me vuelvo a ir por la otra puerta? ¿Lo recordará el juego? ¿O si ahora vuelvo a hacer todo bien?
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility. Although this passageway had the word escape written on it, the truth was, but of course, Stanley thought better of it and realized he simply had too much to live for. The lights rose
si lo vuelvo a
on an
hacer bien, ¿ahora
enormous
qué
room
pasa?
packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley thought to himself. Did he have the strength to find out?
¿Qué van
Now
aquí?
the monitors jumped to life, their true nature revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building, Stanley's co-workers. The lives of so many individuals reduced to images. Aha! You've made it to the bottom of the mind control facility. Welcome! You see, back when the Stanley Parable first launched in 2013, getting to the bottom of the mind control facility was a bug that we simply didn't catch during development. And you all sent us lots of photos of it on Twitter
NX.
and acted very superior about it. And you're all very, very clever. Good for you. Anyway, when it came time to update the game, we knew that we had to do something about this little goof of ours. So here you go. New content. You can call it the bottom of the mind control room ending, if that enhances your perception of the value of these updates. Isn't that what you crave? New content?
No me vas a dar un
Always
logro.
more content, more. And I'm here to give it to you. I'm here to make it seem like we really covered every nook and cranny of the game with secrets and Easter eggs. How about this? We wrote a new piece of music just for this section. You won't hear it anywhere else in the game. It's a secret that's just for you. That's how special you are.
Cabrones son, ¿eh?
We call this track, Good Job You've Made It to the Bottom of the Mind Control Facility. Well done.
Good job, you did it. Good job. 3, 2,
Parece un vídeo de Gaspi.
good job, you made it to
Este juego lo
the
podría haber hecho
mind
Gaspi.
control facility. Jumped on the catwalk. You shouldn't be careful. You shouldn't be careful. It used to be a bug, but now it's an ending. Now it's an ending. And I believe in you. I believe in your ability to cross this barrier and chase your dreams. But railings don't mean anything. Good job, you did it. 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 Good job.
Pues el tema está guapo.
Good job, you did it. Good job, you did it. Good job, you did it.
Wow. A ver si encuentro la puerta que pone nuevo contenido.
All of his co-workers were gone.
Mira,
What
mira.
could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room.
El final nunca es
Perhaps
el
he had
final.
simply missed a memo. Oh, new content? What does that mean, new content?
Está claro lo que el juego quiere, ¿verdad?
Hello, and thank you for playing the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe. As you may know, the Stanley Parable was a video game released in 2013 on home computers. After receiving critical and commercial success, it was expanded upon in 2022 with the Stanley Parable
pela.
Ultra Deluxe, a reimagining of the game for consoles and home computers. The Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe features exciting new content that broadens and expands the world of the Stanley Parable, delighting audiences the world over. Please step inside and see what thrilling new adventures await in the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe.
Oh, well, this sounds delightful. I'm very excited to see the thrilling new Ultra Deluxe content. Okay, so far it's an elephant. Nothing special yet, but I'm sure it's just the beginning of a mesmerizing adventure. Is it broken? What's going on here? Should we be moving somewhere or... Oh, there we go. All right, finally, at long last, it's on to the new content. I've never been more ready.
¿Cómo
Let's
se
do
mofan,
it.
no? Los hijos de la gran puta.
I have to say, initial impressions of Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe.
Un poco mofón.
Mostly tedious. It's as if them... Oh, okay. Let's see the content. Give me the content, Stanley. All right, let's see. It's the jump circle.
Hasta luego.
Is that it? Surely that's not all the new content. There has to be something else, right? Goodness, another elevator. Stanley, I have to say, initial impressions of this game are not positive. It's just elevators and jumping. Is this what passes for exciting new content? If this is new content, then I could just read you the whole dictionary. There's 20 hours of new content right there. Hell, I could count to 30 trillion. You could put that on the box. The Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, now with over 1,000 hours of new content. And oh, wait, there's more. Very good. Yes, I knew there had to be something else. Let's see it. I'm ready for whatever it is.
Era un poto de estos.
That's it? Oh, you've got to be kidding me. You see, Stanley? This is what happens when greedy video game developers with no respect for their fan base rush a cheap expansion to market for no reason other than to make an easy dollar.
La
And
silla
don't
un
get
poco
me
pocha,
started on the level of
Parece
craftsmanship
calamardo.
that's gone into it. In fact, I'm looking right now at the game's achievements, and it's hard to believe one of them actually says, "Test achievement, please ignore." What quality assurance department signed off on this? I'm infuriated and I'm offended, and I intend to find these people on Twitter and hold them personally accountable. It's my fault, Stanley. I built up too much anticipation around the new content, I'm afraid. It could never have lived up to such expectations. If you're still with me, why don't we just reset the game and we'll try to get back to what the Stanley Parable is really about? No frills, no gimmicks. Just you and me having a great time together like always. What do you say, friend?
Y bueno, para que os hagáis una idea, Esto es Stanley Parable, ¿vale? O sea, esto es esa paranoia infinita en la que hay 155.000 caminos, acabas uno, se te abre otro. Pero bueno, la idea es jugar con esa, con ¿somos realmente libres? ¿Vosotros qué pensáis? En el canal principal habrá vídeos sobre esto. Y pues el que lo quiera jugar, ya sabe, eso sí, tomaros una valeriana y tener paciencia, porque como quieras conocer todo, te pegas rato y rato y rato. Y nada, os lo subiré para que veáis esta auténtica paranoia. Y os veo por aquí, por el canal principal. Chao, chao. Gracias por el vídeo.